let's analyze the spiritual rights of women in Islam. The greatest misconception that the West has about Islam is that they think paradise in Islam is only meant for the male. It is not meant for the female. This misconception can be removed by quoting from Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 124, it says, وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِنَ الصَّالِحَاتِ مِنْ ذَكَرٍ أَوْ أُنْثَى وَهُوَ مُؤْمِنٌ فَأُولَٰئِكَ يَدْخُلُونَ الْجَنَّةَ وَلَا يُظْلَمُونَ نَقِيرًا. Which means, if any of you do deeds of righteousness, whether it be male or a female, and have faith, they shall surely enter paradise, and not the least injustice shall be done to them. A similar thing is repeated in Surah Nahl, chapter number 16, verse number 97, which says, if any of you perform good deeds, be it a man or a woman, and as a believer, we shall give you good life, and we should reward you for all your good works. Just because in Islam, sex is not the criteria to enter paradise, will you call such rights in Islam as modernizing or outdated? Another misconception is that, which the Western media has, that the women have no soul. In fact, it was in the 17th century when the Council of Wise Men, when they gathered at Rome, and they unanimously agreed that the woman had no soul. In Islam, man and woman have the same spiritual nature. And that was clarified by our young Qari, Brother Ashraf Mahmoodi, who recited the verse from Surah Nisa, chapter number 4, verse number 1, which says, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ اتَّقُوا رَبَّكُمْ الَّذِي خَلَقَكُمْ مِنْ نَفْسٍ وَوَاحِدَةٍ خَلَقَ مِنْهَا زَوْجَهَا. Which means that, O humankind, reverence your guardian Lord, who has created you from a single person and created, like nature, his mate. A similar thing is mentioned in Surah Nahl, chapter number 16, verse number 72, which says that we have made for you companions and mates of your own nature. Again, in Surah Al-Shura, chapter number 42, verse number 11, it says, فَاتُوا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ جَعَلَ لَكُمْ مِنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. He is the one who has created the heavens and the earth and has made for you pairs from among yourselves. Just because the spiritual nature of a man and woman is the same in Islam, will you call such rights in Islam as modernizing or outdated? The Quran clearly mentions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has breathed somewhat of His spirit into the human beings. If you read Surah Hijr, chapter 15, verse 29, it says, when I have fashioned you in due proportion, and I breathed into you something of my spirit, fully thou in obeys. A similar thing is repeated in the Quran, in Surah Sajda, chapter 32, verse number 9, which says, ثُمَّ صَوَّاهُ وَنَفَاخَ فِيهِ مِنْ رُوحِهِ. Means, we have fashioned you in due proportion, and I breathed into you something of my spirit. Here, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to as something of my spirit is breathed into the human being, it does not mean a sort of incarnation or a pantheistic form. It means that Allah has given to every human being something of his spiritual nature and the knowledge of God Almighty, and coming closer towards Him. Here it refers to both Adam and Eve. May peace be upon them. Both were breathed something of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's spirit. Again we read in the Quran that Allah has appointed the human beings as His vicegerent, as His trustee. As mentioned in Surah Isra, chapter number 17, verse number 70, which says, وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ, that we have honored the children of Adam and bestowed on them special favors. All the children of Adam have been honored, male as well as female. There are some religious scriptures, for example the Bible, which puts the blame on Eve for the downfall of humanity. In fact, if you read the Quran in Surah Araf, chapter number 7, verse number 19 to 27, Adam and Eve, may peace be upon them, both are addressed more than a dozen of times. Both disobeyed God. Both asked for forgiveness. Both repented and both were forgiven. The only criteria for judgment in the sight of Allah is taqwa, God consciousness or righteousness. It's mentioned in Surah Hujurat, chapter number 49, verse number 13. O humankind, we have created you from a single pair of male and female, and have divided you into nations and tribes, so that you shall recognize each other, not that you despise each other. And the most honored in the sight of Allah is the one who is the most righteous. Sex, color, caste, wealth has got no criteria in Islam. The only criteria in the sight of Allah is taqwa. Neither is sex the criteria for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to reward or to punish a person. If you read Surah Imran, chapter number 3, verse number 195, it says, I will never suffer the loss of any of you, be it male or female. You are companions unto each other. In Surah Al-Ahzab, chapter number 33, verse number 35, it says, إِنَّ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَالْمُسْلِمَاتِ, for Muslim men and Muslim women. وَالْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ, for believing men and women. وَالْقَانِتِينَ وَالْقَانِتَاتِ, for devout men and women. وَالصَّادِقِينَ وَالصَّادِقَاتِ, for true men and women. وَالصَّابِرِينَ وَالصَّابِرَاتِ, for men and women who are patient and constant. وَالْمُتْصَدِّقِينَ وَالْمُتْصَدِّقَاتِ, for men and women who give in charity. وَالْصَائِمِينَ وَالصَّائِمَاتِ, for men and women who fast and deny themselves. وَالْحَافِظِينَ فُرُوجُهُمْ وَالْحَافِظَاتِ, for men and women who guard their chastity. وَالذَّاكِرِينَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا وَالذَّاكِرَاتِ, for men and women who engage much in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's praise. And the verse ends by saying, أَعَدَ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ مَغْفِرَةً وَأَجْرًا عَظِيمًا, that for them Allah has prepared forgiveness and ample of reward. This verse indicates that the spiritual duties, the moral duties for the men and women in Islam are the same. The woman has been given certain concession in Islam. If she is undergoing her menstrual period or pregnancy, she does not have to fast. She can keep those fasts later on when she is more healthy. In fact, during the menstrual period and during the post-natal period, she need not pray also. She has been given the concession, and neither does she have to compensate it later on. Just because the moral duties of the men and women are equal in Islam, will we call such rights in Islam as modernizing or outdated?